Okay. Hello, everybody. I'm going to share my screen. Here it is. Okay. You should be able to see it. All right. I'm testing my microphone because I just changed the setup. I think it should be able to hear it. Can you please confirm if you can hear my microphone? Maybe somebody in the chat. Okay, good. All right. So welcome everybody. So today we have our usual meeting where we introduce the new members to the Discord channel. And at the same time, we also are going to introduce the new indicators that we have developed. So first of all, for all the people that are new to the channel, to the Discord server, welcome. I hope you find it useful. For the people that are listening in the from the X account and they are not part of a Discord channel, I invite you to come. We have you can join us through the Patreon program. Even the lowest subscription allows you to be part of our community. It's very inexpensive, just $5, and it's mostly symbolic and to eliminate some of the possible trolls that we will have if we didn't have at least it's a minimum of commitment from your side, because there is a lot of work, not just for me, but from the entire community to create a very positive and useful environment. And everybody is very useful. They are coming up all the time with ideas, with suggestions, with new ways of thinking about what we are doing. The entire idea of a Discord channel for the people that are just joining or they think about joining is to create a very focused community. We have several hundred peoples, and we have like in every community there is a small group of people, like they say this goes like 20, 80 or something like that is very active and is contributing. Everybody has busy lives, but the entire idea of a server is to have people coming in, knowing each other, creating a community, becoming friends, maybe even kind of like a family. And we are trying to understand Bitcoin in general, right? What it does, what this thing is that we are so passionate about. But really, also the ultimate goal is to understand these cycles, right? Because the idea is that over time, no matter what other people tell you, right? Because you will get a lot of message, and they're not wrong. When they are saying hodl, it's not a wrong idea. It's just that it's really I don't even want to say the lazy thing to do. Is that for the person that doesn't have time or will or interest in trying to learn something more about Bitcoin? Because the entire idea of what we are doing, the science, the technology that we are developing, is that Bitcoin is a very precise asset that is different from everything else. It is predictable, and we have a science behind to tell that. And some people, like, they go from an entire spectrum. Like, for example, my friend Fred Krueger, he will tell you, oh, the power law is for conviction, right? To make you feel good that actually numbers go up and we are going to go up and up and up, and we're doing it with a precise mathematical way. Well, it's great, and the power law helps with that because it gives you a feeling that we are following a mathematical path, and is also something that is not just random. It's due to this very profound mechanism that make Bitcoin work according to the Bitcoin power law theory. But it's a little bit of a waste because we have all this knowledge, not just about the general trend, about the cycle and how the general trend plays with the cycle. So why not to use it? And just to give you an example, under the premise that what we are doing is correct and has been correct for 15 years, and we have all these reasons to think of it will continue to be correct. So differently from many other people that don't have a clue, they just wave their hands and they don't have a theory behind. We have a theory that says the power law will continue because it's scale invariant. The cycle will continue because they are an essential part of how Bitcoin works with the mining update that happens every 4 years. All these things will make Bitcoin continue to behave like it behaves, right? Are we sure 100% about this? No, right? Are we? Do we have scientific, reasonable, solid basis to make these claims? Yes, right? So this is what we are trying to do in the Discord channel. We are trying to learn from each other, use scientific tools, and try to make as good as an estimate about where we are in the cycle. And then on the basis of that, according to different styles, because some people will be very aggressive. My suggestion, and this is not a financial advice, I'm just saying hypothetically, somebody that has few Bitcoin probably wants to be aggressive because it's nice for Fred Krueger, I don't know how much he has, but probably a lot, to say I'm going to sit on this thing, and if it goes anyway a little bit higher, even 2 times higher, I'm going to make a ton of money. Another thing is for a relatively young person that comes in and has 0.5 Bitcoin. If you are hoping, because this is also, some of these people are also the ones that are hoping for Bitcoin to go to 10 millions in 2 years from now. They have all these kind of dreams of the Weimar Republic, or they are thinking that there will be a God candle, all kind of crazy, unrealistic fantasy type of scenario, and they don't want to spend the time and the energy to actually understand the science. Because if you understand the science and everything continues to do what has done before, we calculated that between year and 15 years, instead of 64, right? The 64 comes, I explained that before. If we double the time, 15 years, so 15 years from now, that is a relatively small amount of time for a young person because he will pass very quickly. If you have 15 years and you double, you get 2 to the 6, because Bitcoin, according to our theory, goes up with the power of 6. And so we're talking about 64 improvement. Well, how much of an improvement you get if you play these cycles? If you sell here at the top and buy at the bottom, etc. Okay, in an ideal case, it's 1,200 between here and 15 years from now. 1,200. Okay, that is, I think, almost better than God candles. Okay, if you're thinking in that terms. Now, are we going to get 1,200 guaranteed? No. Okay, because this is under perfect condition, under the model that I developed. This includes actually the diminishing returns, right? Not just of a power law trend, but even the bubble. I already included that in that calculation. Okay, but we are going to get 1,200. So divided by a factor of 2. Like in any process, there is always some inefficiency. So you multiply by a factor to indicate the inefficiency. Say you do 50%. That is still close to 500 times, right? Or 600 times. It's crazy. It's completely crazy. So it's worthwhile to follow and understand if these cycles are going to be there, right? Now, every time you make a decision, like when you are on the top and you decide, to take some action, like stop buying if you are on the side of hodling, and you say, okay, I'm not going to sell my Bitcoin, but I'm going to stop buying. I'm going to save my money to when the price goes down. You're still taking a risk, right? Because it could be that the price continues to go up. But if you do it in an aware fashion, and you are trying to understand what is going on with Bitcoin and use all the tools that we develop, then you have a chance to buy at the bottom and actually have a better deal. And there'll be some people that take more chances. They maybe sell 10% of their assets. Some people go all the way to 50%. Probably it's not a good idea to sell everything, because as much scientific and technological this approach is still, based on an asset, that is, it's no planet, right? So we are making this analogy with planets. We are saying that it's like a natural law, but up to a point, right? There is a progression from going from planets to physiology. Even if you were talking about an organism, right? And they say, okay, eat this food or take this drug. You never know what is the reaction of a physiological complex organism relatively to what a planet will do, right? And so as you go to more and more complex things, and Bitcoin is made of humans, machines interacting, so it's still, more difficult to predict than a physiological system, but not impossible. That is the entire thing that we are trying to say here. That is still something in between, right? It's not completely random, and absolutely, I don't know what is going to happen. It's silly. With Bitcoin, it's completely absurd. It's the most predictable asset in the world. And so use this knowledge, use it carefully, use it in a focused manner, but use it. Okay. So if you come to the Discord channel, that is the entire idea. You believe that you can use this knowledge and multiply your gains. That is our goal. We want more Bitcoin, right? Even if I had thousands and thousands of Bitcoins, I will still try to do something, maybe with a small portion of my asset. In fact, I will feel even more secure because I have all these thousands of Bitcoin. I take just few of them, and even if I lost them, I will still be okay. But the idea will be to multiply them, right? We want to multiply them by factor. Again, if you go by dollars, we are talking about 1,200. If you're talking about Bitcoin, we're talking about almost 20. So you're going to multiply 20 times your Bitcoins if you follow these cycles. Again, under this idealistic situation, it probably is not going to happen exactly like that. But anything around 50%, I don't say it's guaranteed, but it's likely. So, what about multiplying your Bitcoin by a factor of 10? So it's pretty amazing. And so I suggest you to join us and help us to do this, because we're doing this thing together. So the idea is that we're developing all these tools. And so in the Discord channel, we actually have many, in the Discord server, we have many channels. Some of them have actually signals that you can use for DCA. We're trying to make them more and more automated, where we are going to give you like weights, okay, if we are here at the bottom, it's time to sell your chairs, right? You should sell like sailor sells. You should sell your chairs and buy anything, because it's a really incredible time for us, and it's the best time to buy Bitcoin. If we are close to the top, well, hold your horses, wait until things cool down, and then buy. Again, according to your aggressiveness, you could do different things. I was hearing today a space where people were saying the most wisest of way, okay, it's not a good idea to actually do shorting of Bitcoin. Well, if I am here at the top and I knew, right, that is a very important thing. If I knew, right, we don't know, but we know pretty much that Bitcoin does certain things. So there will be signs that Bitcoin starts to go. It's not out of the question to take a small portion of your assets and short Bitcoin. I am a contrarian. These people that says it's not wise. Well, it's not wise if you do it randomly. It is wise if you do it with knowledge, because it's one of the tools. Or maybe you can buy options, that allow you to leverage your position. You maybe want to have some Bitcoin. There are 1,000 things that you can do once you have a knowledge to actually play with Bitcoin. And betting against Bitcoin. You're just trying to understand the cycles. If a price goes down and it's a year trend, because this is what happened usually when we go down, we spend 1 year. We know so much, right? The entire premise is Bitcoin is continuing to do what has done for 15 years, for 3 cycles, is going to do exactly the same thing the next cycle. Exactly, well, close enough. Okay, that is the entire idea. So, do it carefully. Try to understand your environment, look around you, try to consult other people in our community and people that you trust, and take action appropriately. Okay, and so that is the entire idea. And so the channels have, we also have classes. The classes usually are general. We meet and we discuss. We try to kind of know each other. We talk about whatever topic is current at that time. But also we have more structured classes on Friday where we learn about coding. It's a free class. Everybody can join once you are part of a Discord group. And we are trying to learn how to do these charts or modify the charts or learn how to plot the power law, because I suggest everybody that is using the power law at least once in your life, do a Bitcoin power law chart using Excel, using Python. Maybe you can learn how to do a little bit Python. It's not that difficult. We talk about coding all the time in life, but if you never coded before, it's really no difficult, right? It's a new skill, and some people don't want to learn new skills sometimes, in particular after a certain age, but it's really relatively simple. In PineScript, if you're using already TradingView, it's relatively simple actually. And so we can learn how to do the power law on PineScript, for example, or Python. So you see it with your own eyes. So the entire idea of this approach also is that you don't have to trust me or anybody else. You do it yourself. You learn about this math that is behind the power law by yourself. And then you don't have to trust me or anybody else, but trust yourself, right? And you start to build the confidence about it. So that is the entire idea. We'll also read this book Scale, because Scale this beautiful book allow us to understand better in the context of science and the world in general, this scale invariant phenomena, why they're important. Power laws and scale invariant basically are like one and the same. Why they're important, why they're all around us. So it's also general education that, while Bitcoin is taking its time to go to 1 million and beyond, we learn other things. That is part of being a Bitcoiner. You learn about economy, you learn about the history of nations, different empires, learn so many things that you would never have tried to learn before. But now you're motivated because you want to understand this wonderful, incredible asset that maybe eventually is going to give us freedom. And so you want to be intimate with it. And so we learn all these kind of things from a science point of view, from a history point of view. So that book is fantastic. We have a book club, so you're invited. So, just join us and learn about anything that has to do with Bitcoin. That is the entire idea. Now, with that, one of the core things that we do with our Discord community is the creation of these indicators on TradingView. If you are not familiar with TradingView, because maybe some of you are not familiar, we are going to give a course also on TradingView soon. There is a ton of materials, like always with the internet. You can Google it and say TradingView tutorial. I'm sure there are several tutorials. Let's see if we can, maybe Saving Face, if you want to help me. Saving Face, by the way, is kind of like my right arm, or one of the best moderators in the Discord server. Very useful, always active, and resourceful. Maybe we can look for some tutorials for TradingView for the people that don't know. But we can do our own. But there is a lot of material that you can learn. It's not very difficult. It's actually relatively intuitive. And this is what you see here on the video. This is how it looks like. And so let's find a couple of them that maybe they are good. And then eventually we can make our own. But it's a tool that basically allows you to visualize in a very nice way. They have some limitations, but a lot of good features. And it's free, first of all. Now, to get our indicators, you need to get through our Patreon program, and I will give you in a moment the link for the Patreon. Um, so if you want to join us, and like I say, even with $5, um, level, that is the entry level, and we will keep it at that level because it's basically symbolic, allows you to get one of these indicators, and Discord channel access, and the free version allows you to visualize two of these indicators at once. And I suggest you, there are a few things in life that are indispensable for me. I'd rather not buying a latte and get the professional version of TradingView, because it's almost a fundamental tool. If you're investing, and in particular, if you're investing in Bitcoin, even if you don't do trading, because it's supposed to, I know it says TradingView, so it's supposed to be for traders, but not necessarily, right? It's just to visualize Bitcoin price action. You can see what is going on, where it is, and then if you have these tools that we give you, it gives you a feeling of where we are in the cycle. That is amazing, right? Oh, we are here. We are close to the fair value, right? That is the power law. We are above it. We are below. We are close to the bottom. This is so important information. Do you have to watch it every day? I will watch it every day. I love Bitcoin, where I get upset if I don't know what is going on every day. But you don't have to. Every few days will be okay, right? You have to take actions every day. No, right? That is the entire idea. That most of us, some of us are interested in even trading daily. Why not, right? If you learn about trading and you do it with few $100 worth of Bitcoin, even that is no wrong. When people are fanatics and they say they'll never trade Bitcoin, well, if I mean don't ever trade hundreds of thousands or millions worth of Bitcoin, we are right. If it is about learning how to play a little bit with Bitcoin and selling, buying, why not? If you could do it with few $100 and learn about an interesting skill that you heard about it. It depends on how you do it. And it could. And if we have, that is one of my goals. I want also to try to understand if we can catch, maybe not intraday, but if we can catch some movement. But it seems we are in that direction. We are going in that direction where we can tell. Okay, so for example, it looks like there is a very strong regularity every couple of weeks. Probably a particular day of the week, and we are finding it. I have many indicators that I'm going to put out that tell us that there are some oscillations, and you can use it for DCA, right? Where hey, let me wait. I'm getting paid every 2 weeks. I'm getting paid this day, but the indicator says in a couple of days it's a better time to buy, and I can get a little discount. Why not? So it's important to have that kind of knowledge about Bitcoin. It's almost like you're making love to something, right? And you want to understand the object of your love, and why not? It's important. So Bitcoin, it can be visualized using TradingView, and there are many features, right? So we can go into it in a second. So the first feature, you can choose your asset. So by the way, it's not just Bitcoin. You could use to eventually we will have indicators about the ETFs. So there will be like a list of all the ETFs. If you want to invest in ETFs, it will show you what they are doing. In fact, we can compare it with Bitcoin, see if there is some kind of arbitrage there. We can add MicroStrategy. We're going to have a lot of different things. We are going to have eventually, in fact, I'm going to make a list of all the indicators, what they do, like a little guide. We will have a page where all that is explained. Probably right now in the Discord channel, we are going to make a list of all the indicators, maybe a little introduction to them and what we do. But eventually, we will have ETFs. We will have a MicroStrategy. I'm already working on them. And so you can compare. You can visualize liquidity, the global liquidity. It has so many incredible features that I think it's an indispensable tool for any Bitcoiners, absolutely any Bitcoiner. Unless you bought an ETF through indirectly and you don't even care and you don't even know what Bitcoin is. But even then, learn about Bitcoin. I will even say that person should learn about Bitcoin because probably it's the most important part of your retirement account. There is no excuse for ignorance. I'm a teacher. I'm a scientist. I love knowledge, and I think knowledge is one of the most powerful tools that you can ever have in your life. So TradingView allows you to look at different assets. Here, at a certain point, we will have a video show you how to get around, how to visualize different things. But I don't want to be distracted, so we focus on Bitcoin. And even with Bitcoin, you have many, many different options. The one I like and I suggest to use for our indicators is this Bitcoin all-time history index. The idea is that this allows us to go all the way to when Bitcoin was created. So it's the option gives you more data than anything else. It goes all the way to when we actually had the first exchanges. I think they even have a model before that of Bitcoin price based on electricity or something like that. If you go really early on, in fact, the data looks a little bit funny because it's more like a reconstruction of what the price could have been based on the miner cost. It's probably not very accurate, but eventually then they have data from the exchanges, and it's supposed to be some kind of an average. It's an average of the different exchanges. That is okay because unless you do daily trading and you want more precise data, this is why you have all these options. Because let's say you traded on Binance, then you want to have the data from Binance. If you're doing this buying and selling on a more refined point of view, right? Because we do change a little bit from exchange to exchange. But for the things we do that are, these supposed trades over longer period of time, it's this all-time history. It's actually great. So this is what I choose. And then, you can visualize the price of Bitcoin. You can turn on and off the indicators. So, usually the indicators, you pull out the indicators by clicking here. You have a list of different indicators that you like. There is a library of them. There are the traditional one, like moving average, Bollinger Bands. It's incredible. It's like one of the best deals, given that most of these things are actually free, that I could imagine about anything. I wish many services were so complete and they had so many things to offer, like TradingView. It's actually, they are very generous in what they offer. And many people contribute. It's clever from their side too, right? They had all these open source contributors that created like free tools, right? We don't have right now any official free indicator in the sense that you can go there and manipulate. We teach you how to program them and how to code them. There are so many of them that will be kind of reinventing the wheel. But, these are the ones that we give to our Discord members, and you access them through our Patreon program. So the first one here, the one that you're seeing here, it's what everybody gets, is called the adaptive power law indicator. And so you come in through the Patreon program, you subscribe to this level, that is the basic level, $5, and you get this indicator. And it's almost all what you need. Everything else, it's great and amazing, and I suggest you to actually get everything, because we have a level that I will explain in a moment. It's called, in fact, let me introduce it. So we have different level, right? So you get this one for $5. You get the, I know, sorry if I mention prices and things like that, but I wanted to make it as practical as possible. The $10 level gives you this one. It's called the Rocket Scientist. This one is called the Power Law Berserker level. And you get these two together, because we have been using these two so far. It's already amazing, right? It gives you 99.9% of information. Everything else is in addition for your learning. maybe because it gives you more details, you get more information. There is so much more than you can actually learn from the other indicators that it's actually a good deal if you wanted to go with it. And people spend money for so many stupid things that, right, this level costs $20. And by the way, we are going to make a promise, to all of our Discord members that is basically all what we will ever charge you, unless inflation goes crazy or whatever. Is even if we have like 30 indicators, it will always be only $20. Okay, so that will be kind of a package where you get everything. So if you have if a $20 is not a big deal for you, I suggest you to get that package. So because as we add the ETFs, we add the MicroStrategy, we add the liquidity, global liquidity, all of these different indicators, and eventually we will have probably 10, 15 of these indicators, and you can choose them, you can switch, you can learn about different things. It will be all in that package, one simple package where you get everything. So the first indicator is called the adaptive power law, and is a little different from the power law that you are used to, because what this indicator does, it adapts to the data as it comes in. So it gives certain way to the data, and I want to change a little bit something here. Let me do that. By the way, a way that you can change is by clicking this little bolt. Then there are different settings. Okay, so here in this case, for example, can change the projection. The projection right now is only for these straight lines. I'm going to add also the projection of a white line that I will explain what the white line is. It's a full model. You can have different averages, etc. Eventually, I want to add more functionality, right? So these are basically things that you can use to make the indicator a little bit more personalized. But you also can change the different colors. So for example, right now I have a moving average. It's kind of a gray. I like to make it slightly different. Let's make it like this. Okay, it's going to color it slightly different, so I can distinguish it from the price. This is the estimated price, so there are the different color for the deviations. Some people like a moving, like a saving phase, for example, he customize them where it looks very nice. There is a way of uploading. I don't know how this is done. I will have to look for it. There is a way of, I have it. Many people don't. I think I have like an app or something that allows me to do that. But there is a way of actually uploading a little spreadsheet that set up all these parameters for you. So let's say you wanted different colors or different shades, etc., and somebody has already done it. There is a way of doing it. I need to figure out how to do that, because it would be really cool. Because when people will do, I have this variation, and they don't have to do it manually. They don't have to modify manually. They can just upload whatever version somebody else worked on. So it will be a very nice way of sharing. I need to find out how to do this. Maybe again, saving phase, you can do some research. You see how I have this little arrow here. I can download it so I can share it with other people, and I can upload it. There is a way to do this within TradingView. So anyway, and you can change the colors. Is now my average, the moving average is slightly different colored. You can turn off this so it's easier to see. You can move it, make it larger. You can zoom in, so you can interact with it, right? You can go really close. And so the idea of this power law that is more responsive to recent data, it is good because it allows us to actually find scientifically based levels of support and resistance. You see, because it adapts to new data, there are areas like this where you can see the price. And again, another thing you can do here is to choose different things. You can choose candles. You can choose Ekinashi. It is a particular way of creating candles that we don't have time to go into it today. We can do it another time. But I like these Ekinashi candles. They give you kind of a feeling of a trend of a price at a particular time. And right now we are working on daily. So this also allows you to get different type of time frames, different type of bars. Right now, the suggested one is daily. So, you can see how the adaptive power law, and by the way, we have the halving here. We should actually just have a triangle because it's passed, but we are already, was supposed to give us like a value for when the trade with halving happened, but because it already passed, we should mark it as a triangle. It's in the past, so we need to do that. But anyway, you see how the price follows some of these lines, right? That are supposed to be, so these lines are deviations from the trend, from the general trend. The blue line is the general trend that is adaptive in the sense that as it doesn't use any fixed value for the slope, it calculates a new value as it gets more data. And so it's more historically accurate when you go back in the past and you see how it behaves. It is only using past data, not future data. It is actually pretty cool because you can see how accurate the power law was in the past. So as you scroll, you can see different values from the past and so on. These triangles are the halving. And so the usefulness of having something adaptive is that there are even local power laws that the price seems to follow, and basically will tell you, okay, this is the local power law that the price seems to follow right now, and so it's actually a very nice way of getting support and resistance. So if you want to know where we are, where we are going next time, it's very useful. It's a very cool thing. I was very surprised to see this when I started to work on this thing. That actually the price seems to follow along these lines. It's a very natural way of finding, instead of drawing it by hand or with some arbitrary method, the algo finds it themselves. Like, you see how here we had this support level for a long time. We went down. Now the yellow line seems to be support. Let me reset this so you can see better. See how this yellow line now seems to be like a new support. We have this support here, we broke it. So something like this will be good for identifying dips. So that is another thing that we're trying to do eventually, automated, where we will give signals, but you can also set it up because you can set up alerts in TradingView. Again, something that maybe we can have a video on a certain point to show you how to set up alerts and this kind of charts. But you could set it up, say, hey, if a price goes in between these two lines, give me an alert because maybe that is a good dip. It's a place where, again, I could decide to buy. I have some extra money. I can decide to buy because it's a local dip, relatively to the price. So, and right now, for example, the general power law trend seems to be almost kind of a barrier that the price doesn't like to go over, right? It's going over. It's going to happen, and we will see in a moment when the bull market starts, and we know when that should happen. That is another thing that we think we know, right, through the knowledge of the power law. And so this is the beauty of having something adaptive like that. So it's the first tool that we have. The other feature, and notice how, for example, when you reach the bottom, or reach this purple line, this purple line, it's a very good base for the bottom. This was during COVID. You see, even during COVID, we just had a little whip, little wick here that went down this purple barrier, but then it bounced, right? It bounced and it continued to go up. That is how strong this. That is really the strongest feature about the power law, that we identify this bottom, and it's basically almost never violated. We know where the price is supposed to be. Even when we are not there, if you look at it, right, you say it's probably almost impossible for the price to go below $23,000, right? Because this is where it's supposed to be right now. It will not go below that, because even during COVID, it didn't go there. Even during this incredible crisis where oil became negative and they were giving you money if you bought oil or something. I don't know how a negative set works, but do they pay you to actually buy oil? I don't know. But something weird happened with oil, right? Because it became negative. But Bitcoin bounced from that barrier, and you can always look it up and say, okay, you can move the cursor up to that, and right now it's telling us that it's 24, right? So it's pretty incredible that we have all these tools to let us understand what is going on with Bitcoin. So even if you do it in a very passive way, having all this information available is pretty amazing. Now, what is the white line is? The white line is what, again, if you follow me on X, you're probably familiar with it, is what we call the full model. The full model is has three components, as the general trend. Now here we don't use the adaptive general trend. We could make a version. I didn't play with that yet, but the general trend that this model uses, it's kind of a fixed one, right? Where we choose some kind of date, we calculated all the parameters. They are pretty stable. They can change, right? If you do it close to a peak, you do the fitting, right? Close to a peak, you do the fitting close to a bottom. That number of a slope can change a little bit. But it's pretty stable, right? It oscillates around a particular value. Maybe that is the real value or whatever. I think the real value is actually 6. It's just that there is noise, and the noise covers, it manifests itself as this change in the slope. But it's okay. It's okay for the things that we want to do. There are slight variations. Don't ever trust anything 100%. Understand the context of how these things are done. So it gives us general trend. It's also nice to have an alternative way of doing things. We can try if there is anything to gain by making the model general trend, full model based on this adaptive one. I will play around with it. It's just long list of things to do. And then it has two more components. One, we are forcing the value to go down to a particular deviation from the trend. Again, this is not the adaptive trend, but the fixed trend, because around that value is this where we have the bottoms. And you can see how consistent it has been during the cycles, right? Again, during COVID, we just barely went down that white line. Here, the full model really perfectly followed the bottom. In this cycle was almost incredible. So this cycle is really like almost a perfect match. It is uncanny because remember, it's now that we are calculating some kind of moving average, and you will expect that tight relationship with the data. It's a formula. It's a formula calculated ahead. It's really different from what everybody else does, because we're not doing some moving average where it's people that don't know think, oh, look, it's following the price closely. Of course it does. It's an average, right? It's a moving average, and it's always reactive, like the price cycle. The price cycle is not predictive. I repeat that all the time because so many people use it. It can be useful. A moving average can be useful, but it's not adapted, and it's not a simple formula. This is a simple formula that tries to be predictive of a price. It's not adaptive, and you can see how humble. It would be nice if we continue to have this very crazy match with reality. There have been variations. It gives us also some reference, but sometimes we are moving away from that trend, but within limit, right? So it's not that it's doing it in a completely random fashion. And you can look at the other cycles. If you go before halving, this white line doesn't model the first bubble, because the first bubble was an anomaly. It behaved in a different way. It didn't happen associated with the halving, so we don't model it at all. But the other three bubbles were modeled by this white line in a very nice way, right? You see how he was able to get to the top, he was able to get to the bottoms, and so on. And today I will try to extend it, because we can extend it, given that it's a formula, we can extend it in the future. See, we extended these other lines here. Unfortunately, trading view doesn't allow us to go more than 500 days. It's one of the limitations of trading view. I don't know why they do it in that way, but I think if you start to go, I don't know if I want to mess now with going to 2 days or 10 days, but it's possible maybe to extend it to further if you use a longer time frame. But right now, in terms of days, and this is designed to work with days, we can extend it. You can see where the price is supposed to go in the future. By the way, if you click this A, it allows you to drag it around and to move it manually. Otherwise, it does auto fitting, and so you can see where we are supposed to go, right? Like for example, if we are saying so, and the map below this guy here that I didn't explain yet, and we can explain in a moment. It's our clock, what we call the Bitcoin clock. So this is the second standard indicator that we have, and they tell us the time. Here is when right now we are here, right? This is the current time. It's a little bit after 6. 6 is what we call the transition from the bear to the bull market. It's not the top. Some people get confused because there is a bump there, but it's not a bump. It's just a particular part of a clock, a particular location of a clock that is actually a transition from the bear time to the bull time. It's kind of like almost like the end of winter, and we are going towards spring. It's not yet the full bull market. The full bull market, if you look at the different labels that we have for the different component of the clocks, it's here at 9, and right now it's about 7 in terms of Bitcoin time, 7 or 5 or something like that. And so the full bull market will start at 9. So we're projecting it in the future here. And so you can go there and say, okay, what the price will be when the full market starts, right? So about 100,000. So the people that say, oh, that will be the trend line, right? The trend line is this blue, but 106. Some people say, oh, we already reached the top, or we were not going to. There are some influencers that make these crazy claims that we are not going to reach 100,000 this cycle. We should reach it just by the trend line. And usually during the frenzy bull market, well, what we call the full bull market or the frenzy bull market, we go higher than that. So if everything repeats like it did before, and you're consistent in believing, because these people are not consistent, they are trying to find a pattern, but then they ignore the more fundamental pattern that is Bitcoin being very clockwise, right? In following a clock. So the fact that it always starts a bull market, a very frenzy bull market, at this time of a cycle is ignored by these people. And if you and also they ignore the general power law trend. So if you combine these two things, the power law trend and the fact that Bitcoin has very precise cycles, then we should be 100,000 by the time. Probably we're going to approach. So my prediction from here to that time is that we are probably going to hover. In other cycles, if that is also the beauty of this indicator, that you can compare what happened to the other cycles. See here, for example, COVID kind of happened more or less during this time. In fact, it was a little bit before the halving, right? So we started to kind of follow this orange line. We are higher now because of the FOMO due to the ETF. People got too excited. They thought that it was like going to break everything. It was a change of phase. It's not. It's simply what is needed for the power law to continue. But this is when you can have when the price can leave the general trend where the price is supposed to be because of human action form of it is much more difficult to predict the general behavior. But Bitcoin tends to go back to the general behavior for very deep reasons. It's not just like some waving events. If you read the theory and understand it, there is real serious reasons why Bitcoin behaving the way it does. So you could be here in this region. You see how it didn't like to go above the blue line until we were very, very close to the transition, right? And if you go the previous cycle, and so it's nice to say, okay, because some people plot, make these plots, right, for you to look at on X that are nice, but the beauty of having something like that you can actually study by yourself, right? And again, see, here it was smoother, but again, look what happened. It was kind of flat, right, closer to the bottom, and then when we arrive to this 9 o'clock, things start to pick up, and this when the price went crazy. So this is what I'm expecting Bitcoin to do too, until we reach the transition to full bull market. We are not going to do that. We are going to probably maybe going even a little bit lower, because we are a little bit higher relatively. We should be more close to the orange line, or even closer to the purple line. We are over there where we are supposed to be. So we are already kind of overestimating the price right now. So probably it's going, if it is not super bearish, it's going to kind of hover maybe, right? It's going to hover all this time, maybe go down. If it is go down, it's a good opportunity to buy, right? And then when things are ready, we should go just up from there, right? And we will cross, because this is what happens all the time, we will cross that blue line, that is the general trend. Maybe I need to make this a little bit thicker so it's easier to see that this is the general trend. So we should go above the general trend, that is more than $100,000 by that time. I need also to project the white line, and you will see the white line, it starts to pick up, right? Because the white line is designed where it hugs the bottom when we are close to the bottom, and then kind of close to the transition to the full bull market that happens here, it should start to pick up and go up. So there is so much information from all these. The clock beneath is basically the clock that you see often in my X account. We just made it linear because, first of all, it's not impossible, and we are working actually in a beautiful version of a clock on TradingView. I have this company called LuxAlgo, that is a professional company, is making that indicator for me, because I have no clue how to make it, because if you just use, they need to have some magical way of doing it. I don't know how they do it. I even research it, but usually you can plot just time on a linear fashion. That is one of the limitation, or at least difficult things with TradingView. Is, I can do it using MATLAB or Python or other thing, but given the limitation of PineScript, that is the language of TradingView, it's not easy. So I don't know which trick are they using. It's some kind of a trick, but we will have that version of the clock. But I like these two because it's easier then to compare it with above, so you can use it both, and now you have the timing information, and you have also the pricing information, the deviation from the trend. And so what this clock does is basically going from the circular plot that I usually draw to a sine wave. So it's projecting. So if a clock has an end, it's projecting the length of the hand to the sine, to the y-axis, right? Almost like a shadow. That is what a sine wave is. So imagine, you probably learning that in school, right? Now we have a sine wave that represents the oscillation of a clock. The sine wave becomes bigger and bigger because, of course, the price is going bigger and bigger, right? You see, as I go to the past, the amplitude of the oscillations became, you see how nice we are. So if I move up the price, you can see how they are synchronized, right, with the price actions. And the two different lines that you see here are the full model, that is the orange one. And you see how the full model reaches the peak when it's time for the peak. And then the red line will be below, because the red line, it's the fixed model, right? It's the simple straight line. So this is the curvy one that goes up and down, the yellow one. The red one, it's the fixed model. And it's nice because you can see that they are switching, right? When during the bull market, the yellow one is on top, the red on the bottom, and vice versa when we are during the bear market. And think about why, right? Because this is supposed to go up when the white It's basically the white line. The orange line here is the white line where it's going up and down according to where it is in the cycle, right? And while the red line basically stays where it is. So it's really the yellow one that moves relatively to the red one. And the color coding of the clock, it's time. So instead of color coding deviations from the same, for example, it color codes time. Um, and so closer to the top, so 12 o'clock is when supposedly we have the top, is becoming red, then changes suddenly color, starts to go towards the green, it becomes kind of light yellow, green, at the bottom. This is when we have the bottom. See here, this is where we are at the bottom in the bed cycle. It tells you that is the bottom, the time, etc. So it's timing, right? So use all this together. When people say, "Oh, the power law tells me these variations," it's stupid. They don't understand what we are talking about. It's you combine both the general trend and the knowledge of the cycles, and it becomes surgical precise. It tells you when the tops are, when the bottoms are, when we are changing phase for the market. See, when it goes from yellow to orange, we have this transition from the bear to the bull. Then we have this other cusp. The reason why we have this cusp is the sine wave, right, goes positive, negative. I flipped it. I took the absolute value of the sine wave, so it's always positive because it's easier to compare. Then you have actually precise places like these cusps where there are these transitions, that are very important. Is when the real full bull market starts at 9 o'clock. When are we close to that? Yes, okay, or no, right? So you can compare it. You know where you are, and in fact, even the number of days, because every minute it's 2 days, and so you know how many days we are. So if it is 7 o'clock right now, and the full bull market is 9 o'clock, it's about 200 days, right? And so it's really cool. This is what you have here. And so you can combine the knowledge of a cycle in terms of time versus the difference, the location, right? Of the price relatively to the trend. And then a new indicator that we have right now is actually the difference. And again, this uses the fixed model, but eventually we can actually add the also relative to the adaptive. We don't have to have a new indicator. I can simply add it to this because actually, if you go here and you click the little bolt, and you go in the input, there is some customization, right? So for example, I can do the percentage difference. This calculating the percentage difference and is color coded according to if you are positive, percentage difference is going to be red, green is going to be negative. Sometimes people ask me that how is possible that there is a negative percentage difference? It means that it's below the trend, right? This is what it means. If it is negative, it means it's below the trend. If it is positive, it means it's above the trend, right? And you can do it relative to the trend, relative to the price, right? Will change. Now you're taking the difference basically between price and trend, but you're dividing by the price. So it's a change relatively to the price. You see how it changes? It's actually kind of nicer in a sense because it's like smoother and it gives more weight, kind of equal weight. It's not that huge bigger difference, right? When you do it relatively to the trend, it's more consistent. So it's another way of seeing it, right? It's more like a classical oscillators where it goes from a maximum to a negative, to a maximum to a minimum. Eventually, we probably want to do also something like that. I need to. I think Plant C was showing me something that looks like that, like an index or something like an oscillation index. I want to learn how it did it, so maybe we can add it to this. But basically, this will be one single indicator that shows different options to look at deviations from the trend. Again, same information that is here because you can use these bands, but it's also nice to see it in this way, right? It drives home the message better. And you can do it like an average, right? So this will be an average between the two type of averaging, right? Again, it's the difference divided the trend or divided the price. And here, it's divided an average between trend and price. So they give you slightly different way of looking at the deviation, identify them. You can see how color coded they are. You can say, well, okay, I'm going to wait until it's really red, right? Before I'm actually selling, I'm looking for, and I put here some reference. This is the middle, the dotted line. This is the red, where usually we have a hard bottom. We almost never go below that. That one is according to the trend. So maybe I need to make a flexible one that is according to the other type of averaging. But eventually I want to put like an index, like maybe some kind of risk index. So it will be one single oscillator that has different options, and you can see the different, and you can open even two of them, right? One with something, because you can open one more versions of the same indicator with slightly different means or different type of way of doing the calculations, and you can compare it, right? So there is so much different things that you can do. But I'm trying to put all the different type of oscillators in one single, beside the time, right? Time is going to be its own indicator, but here we can organize all the different way of showing deviations from the trend or from, the power law, maybe using different methods. So right now we have 3 methods, but we can add other ones. So if you have ideas, Plant C was showing me, there is a guy called Plant C, maybe you guys know him, but he's very clever. He has different ideas, so maybe we can integrate some of these ideas here. But this shows the color-coded changes relatively to the trend. And again, you can combine it with the clock information, right? You say, okay, here is where the bottom is. How much of a deviation do I have? Okay, when you combine all this information together, you are much more powerful. It's much easier to identify where exactly the bottoms are. These bottoms that are indicated here are based on a very simple 4 years kind of cycles. Again, we can try to play with block time, we add more information. It's all a work in progress. We are making it better and better and better and better. Okay. And recently I also added a new indicator. I'm going to turn off this one. So you can always turn on and off the indicators by clicking this eye. So this here, I click it up, and I'm going to turn on this one. So this one is also a new indicator that you get in the $20 deal that I mentioned. You get everything we ever make or will make in the future is all included in that package that's called the Power Law Insider. And so this one is very similar to the first one, but it's based on a fixed value, right? So some people, it's nice to have more than one tool. So you can use that one maybe to find the resistance levels and support levels. So there is so much information on that one. You can switch it on and off, by doing simply what I just did, having the high. So you can have them in the same chart, turning them off, on, so you can compare it. But this one has the fixed trend, that is this white line. Now, it has so many different features. If you go here, you can actually change, okay? Oh, this was the input for the other one. Okay, here, okay? It has different features where, for example, even the slope and the intercept can be changed because, maybe as we calculated, right? This is kind of the official one values that we use, but as we get more data, maybe these values became closer to the real one because it's more of a fixed kind of average over time, and so we can change it. It doesn't do manually. It's possible that we could do something where it suggests you a value. This is the official one, but if you follow me, we will come up with certain values. Maybe you did your own calculations offline, and you say, "Oh, I think it should be more closer to 7.3." So you can change it. This is the intercept. This is the slope. So it's just to give, if you don't want to change it, just stay with the default value. You can always say, here, we want to go back to default, right? Reset settings, and it will give you this default. But you can play around, right? Say, okay, I did a calculation using, more data, using Coinbase data or whatever, and I got 7.3. It's not going to change anything be deep, but it's nice to have that functionality. Here, this powerful allows you see how there is the full model that we discussed before, Now it's color coded, where if you are above the trend, it's going to be red. If it is below, it's going to be green. And for a moment, let me take out, because it also shows liquidity. So I'm going to take out the liquidity so you can see it a little bit better. And then we can talk about the liquidity in a moment. But it has even liquidity. This indicator adds liquidity if you are interested in the liquidity. But this value here basically makes more narrow or less narrow the full model, because there is not really, maybe there is some signs that at a certain point we can come up with on what the best shape is. But you see now, for example, it's grabbing a little bit better this descent, right? So if you have some reason to make it steeper or less steep, you change this. As you go to higher levels, it becomes steeper. If you make it less, you see how now it's broad, maybe because you want to look at the broader area. Yeah. So it changes a little bit the shape. You can play with it. It's nice. It's fun. You can see also learning about modeling, that how can I change things to make a better model. Eventually, maybe we can change the shape. I don't know if there is anything to gain from that, but right now you have this ability to change the shape of that curve. The one that is officially is 8, because it's kind of a good compromise between being sharp and grabbing some of these descent. Like I say, we can improve it and make it a better model, but right now this is what it is. This is a phase. I don't want to play too much with it, but it shows where the peak is. Right now they are all synchronized to the first peak, and all of them come up at the same place. But let's say you wanted to change it a little bit, where again, by making your own version, say, well, I think the peak was more like here, right? So it allows you to change it by hand, and you can shift it towards the red or towards the right. Play with it. Nothing happens, it doesn't explode or anything like that. Right now, I'm trying to be focused on what is essential. And you also can change. So these are standard deviations. So are based on standard deviations, from the trend. You can choose, 2 or 0.48, so you can choose. There are basically, instead of having a dozen bands, there are 2 main ones, right? Where you think the bottom is, you can choose these. Let's say you went all the way to 4, we'll make it go lower, and it grabs that bottom here, right? So you can have deviations that you can optimize for yourself, and also the top, where maybe it's something that you want to say, okay, if it goes that amount of deviation, then I want to start to do DCA, where I sell a little bit of my holdings, So there is that functionality there. And we can add more functionality. That is the entire idea. Then you can add liquidity levels. If you are interested in liquidity, it's showing in different colors. So the purple one is showing, basically shorts, and the blue one is showing levels where you have longs, so you can see basically if there are. These are kind of ways of identify possible resistance. If you see a lot of shorts, let me do this so it doesn't distract us. These bubbles are like very strong places where there is a lot of liquidity. So it's allow us to know where probably the price is going, because many times if there is a lot of liquidity in one direction or another, the price tends to go that area, to liquidate some of the shorts or liquidate the longs, so it's really cool. We can have a video at a certain point on how to use liquidity, but I was going to give you like a kind of general introduction, so it has this additional information that you can use it. So these are the 4 indicators that we have right now. We're working on a 5th one that is more based on fractal properties of Bitcoin. And it's going to be ready in the next couple of days. And then we can do another video about that one, because it's really cool. It gives us a feeling of where we are, if it is like random behavior, if it is a trend following behavior, if we are going up or down, etc. So it has additional information. Okay, so let me see if I found my way back to the video. See if anybody else is around. Okay, so I'm going to take for maybe 10 minutes any type of questions or any type of comment. So if you want to type your questions in the, I can also read the ones that are already there. But if you have any other questions and you want to ask it, this is the time to do it. Can you explain how the standard deviations are calculated? Basically, we cannot really think about the power law as an average. The standard deviation usually are related to an average, right? What is the general definition? So when you calculate some statistical quantity, you have a bunch of numbers, right? And then you calculate different things. One of these is what is called the average. The average technically is simply you have so many different values, you sum them together, and then you divide by the number of values, right? That is the simplest possible average. Now you can have a weighted average where you give different weights to different things, it depends. But the common type of average is that one. You sum all the values. Now, when you do a lot of this type of trading kind of quantity, we do it on what is called a moving average. So you look basically the past because you don't have future information. And so we look at 100 data points, in this case bars, right? Days or minutes, whatever time frame we are working on. You're looking at a certain number of data points in the past from each bar. So as you move to the next bar, you're always 20 or 100 data points. You're looking at the last 100 data points, so the last 20 data points. That is the window, what is called the window length. And so you're updating it, right? You eliminate the oldest data point and you add the new one. Okay, so it's kind of update average as you go along. And you can always calculate what is called the standard deviation. The standard deviation will be use the same data points in that window, and then you look at, once you calculate the average, how each point is distant, how different the data point, the deviation of the data points of the bars, the single bars, from the general trend. And then you do the same thing. It's kind of an average of the deviations, right? You sum them, you take the difference, you square it. The reason why you square it is because you don't care if it is positive or negative deviation. You just care about the size. So by squaring it, you eliminate the negative sign, right? If a deviation, if a data point is below and you're subtracting the mean, you will get a negative number. If I take the square, I get a positive number. So I sum them together. I divide by the number of these guys. It's actually -1 for a particular reason. But basically, it's kind of the same idea of taking an average of this deviation. And then I take the square root because I want to go back to just the deviation itself, the size of the deviation, not the square. But the square initially was there to eliminate, to give the same value to positive and negative deviations. And so you get this value that is basically represents like an average deviation from the trend. Right? If you have a lot of volatility, that number is going to be big. If you have little volatility, that number is going to be small compared to the average. Right? Now, with the power law, you cannot really consider that thing like an average. It's kind of an average, but not really, right? But you can still come up with an equivalent of a standard deviation, that is, I'm going to look at the deviation of each point from that value, right? I know what that value is at any particular point, and I calculate the deviation, and I calculate an average. And because it's in a moving window, I can continue to do that, and I get some kind of a curve. And that is how we do it. And so this is when we talk about standard deviation from the trend. This is how we do it. Okay, let me read some of these questions. What low price does this chart predict for the next bear market? Um, yeah, it's not here because unfortunately it will be really cool, right? If we could go all the way to the top and then show us the bottom. And at a certain point, it will do that because if we go closer and closer, remember it's always 500 days ahead. I don't know why they did it like that. Maybe because I know what they did it because who can predict more than few days anyway, right? It's already crazy to think that you can predict something 500 days ahead. So we thought, well, 500 days is already crazy for any type of predictive system. How is possible to predict more? With Bitcoin, we can predict 5 years ahead, right? Or 10 years ahead, according to this theory. So we don't have that. The only way that we can do it, it's offline. And this is why we have charts on our Discord channel that predicts the next top, the next bottom. In fact, a couple of cycles ahead. We do these charts. They are updated every day in the Discord channel. And there is the Discord server. There is a channel that does these signals where they show us the projection for the top, for the bottom, a little table. We are improving it again, even there. We're trying to make a nice little table with all these predictions, for the next 3 or 4 cycles even. And so we are working on all that. On TradingView, unfortunately, you cannot go beyond 500. So it's not going to tell you that until we are 500 days from the bottom, right? But using the other chart, even here, see, when you see the projection here, and because we make a projection, it's not a projection for the top. It's in fact, it went a little bit higher because we are moving closer to the top, so it's going to go higher. The top, the projected year is 500 days ahead of us because this all this thing can do. This is what is supposed to be according to the full model. It's going up like that. This is the current price. And so this is 500 days ahead, unfortunately. We could put somewhere here, maybe as a additional signal, what is the top. We could, it's not a problem. We could put this here. Say, according to the model, this is the projected, and maybe even, we could add that. We could, in fact, there is a way to add a little table. So we could add a little table here, says projected top, projected bottom. So that could be a good suggestion, to put a table. So we can add the little table. But just to answer your question, it's supposed to go, and I've written an article that you can read on my Medium where I calculate these things. I say, okay, and this is a scientific method, I even explain the method that I follow because at least it's consistent. Now, is it correct? It's not correct? We don't know, right? But at least you can see the logic of what they did. If you follow the logic, we should go all the way to 210,000 at the top. Again, it's a very conservative estimate, but based on logic, based on science. You can follow my article. I can give you the link. And then the bottom, once we go down, is going to be around 80,000, something like that. So it's going all the way to 110 and then 80,000. And it should never go below that again. And then we repeat the cycle and so on. So that is what the theory predicts. Okay, let me go to the next question. Yeah, it's possible, right? If you actually push it all the way. So really, it's about 60% deviation. This is where the hard bottom is from the trend. And if you go there, then 7 phase is right because it was mentioning 7K. So it's more like 7K. So 80K if it goes 50%, 70K if we go all the way to 60% the deviation. Roughly, right? But not really. It's not really. There is not a simple formula. A high of a previous cycle becomes bottom. It's more complicated than that. Okay. Will be the fear and greed index be useful to add to Oscillator? I don't know about this fear and greed index that you're talking about. What do you talk about? That Wall Street sheet? I don't know. I don't like it too much because if that is what you're talking about, an index, a grid index. If it is based on some scientific approach, yes, I think I don't know what will be based on. If you have an article, if you have like a link, I can read it. I'm always willing to read something. Um, all what we are using right now is uh, cycle timing that is so precise and deviations. When you combine them together, they are almost surgical. And I'm open to other type of ideas because we want to add global liquidity. We want to add, eventually we'll have so many things, and then maybe we can even combine them together to get an index. That could be a good idea, right? We combine all these things. Maybe we create a new quantity that has time in it, has deviations, and then it becomes one single number, and see if that single number, maybe we can plot it. It's representing all this knowledge, liquidity from the market. Maybe that could be a really cool idea. We create some kind of weighted indicator that all has all this information together. I need to think about that. That could be a very, very cool idea. This is why I love to interact with you guys, because your question make me think, and then I start to create new things. So it will be really cool to have maybe something that is some kind of weighted average between timing, deviation, liquidity, all these kind of things. And then we can come up with a single number that is like a super indicator. So let me think about that. Maybe I can work on something like that. Okay, we'll pay for some CASPA. Yeah, we're going to have a CASPA one. So don't tell the Maxi. For the people that want to, you don't have to use it, but we do have a channel. It's a semi-Maxi Discord server, right? Because we really believe Bitcoin is the way. So it's not a degen server. We don't like people to talk about alts in the general channel, but we made a channel that is for crypto, because one thing is to be maxi or semi-maxi, another thing to be fanatics and push away people. People have different interests, and if you can play with the alts and make more Bitcoin in the end, why not? Why not? If you can, again, do it carefully, do it without doing stupid things, don't use too much leverage, try to be careful. But if you're able to multiply your Bitcoin by holding some other asset, why not? So we are going to have a CASPA one. It's ready, and it needs just approval, from the TradingView people, and it's going to be similar to the one that is adaptive. So it's going to be adaptive indicator for CASPA. Eventually, we can try other alts, or maybe something that. So, and a cool thing will be to give a grade to the different alts according to how well they come close to a power law. That could be an interesting thing to do, to sort coins based on that. But right now, yes, there is a CASPA indicator that is ready, and it will be part of a package. And people can use it. People don't have to use it. It will be there. So yes, this was dodged. So dodged, I answered your question. It depends on your level, right? So if you got the basic level, you just get one indicator. If you get the all-in package, which is $20, you get everything. And even in the future, so if you make new indicator, you will get these new indicators. Yes, Stephen, we actually usually very responsive. You can always DM me, and I should answer. I am the only one that can give you access to the indicators. So if I missed you or there is some problem, we can resolve it. Okay, we never had anybody that we will not able to resolve a problem. Just make sure I answer you. I don't know. Usually we are very responsive. Okay. Boivo says, just a thought. Have you explored CAS price action with the BTC price pretty much? Yes, I did. I don't want to talk too much about CAS, but go to the channel where we discuss. If you join us, there is a channel where we discuss alt. It's the ghetto. It's the alt ghetto where we can confine all the discussion about alts there. But yes, I explore many different alts, and almost nothing behaves like a power law, with the exception of CAS, that you have to take it with a grain of salt, because one of the main important parameters for power laws that is they express themselves over many orders of magnitude. So we don't know if CAS is going to continue to do that, but so far it kind of shows power law properties, but I don't know why. It's interesting, and data is data. You have to be open. So this is why we made the indicator. But let's leave it there. If you're interested, there will be a CAS indicator that you can use, and then if you want to have more discussion, there are other alt people in the channel that is dedicated. We have a. It's called there is no second best, but kind of a joke, but it's kind of true, right? Because we want to focus on Bitcoin, but we leave a possibility for people to be free. The channel has basically the Discord server has almost no rules at all, because most people are very nice. They are very respectful of each other. We have almost no trolls at all. By the way, there is, as you come in, very big people that may contact you as me to sell you stuff. I will never sell you stuff, and on this is the extent of selling that is already making me a little bit uncomfortable, telling you about these different levels. But this is all what happens in terms of selling product, or giving people different plans, to get involved and participate, because it's a community. You're contributing to the community. So there will be never me contacting you one to one, selling you, if you join this program, $300, it's, if anything like that happens, actually immediately contact me, so we can report to this person. It's a scam, right? So it's absolutely a scam. So don't believe anybody. Look at, if you want to communicate with me, do it through the Discord channel. Click within the Discord channel. Send me a message directly through the channel, because there is only one Giovanni there. Thank God. But be careful about scammers. Okay, be careful. Does BTC follow the power law in gold value? Yes, it does. It's just that, and eventually we can have an indicator about that. There is only one problem: gold is not always. Yeah, in fact, that is a cool idea. I could try to do that. Gold is not traded all the time like Bitcoin is, so there will be some gaps there. So it's difficult to take account of that, but it can be taken account. I mean, there are days where there is no trading of gold, but there is trading of Bitcoin. But we could maybe jump these gaps or something. But in general, yes, you could make a chart of BTC versus gold, and it looks very similar, because in the last several years, gold doesn't change, stay more or less the same. You don't gain really any additional information. I tried. Maybe sometime it's useful to try things, but there is not really any additional. The USD is what Bitcoin is traded with mostly, in the market, etc. So it's really the yardstick, and it's relatively stable. Again, if anybody's interested, we could make a model of Bitcoin with inflation or without inflation. You could add it and subtract it. That could be a cool thing. I'm open to all kind of different you know in fact, see how here you have different currencies. Okay, so in theory I can go there and change the currency. I could go and say euro. Okay, and you click that and it's going to change it, and it's showing you the euro now. Bitcoin power law model, the euro, it looks like kind of before, or very different. Okay, See, it's very similar. Now, what happens if I go with the Argentinian pesos? It's somebody always asks. Let's try peso. We do that. I don't know if we do gold. Let's try gold. US. How is gold? AUX? What is it? I don't know. Anybody can write down what is the index for gold? I don't know. I don't remember. I even bought and sold gold in the past, but I don't remember what it is. But let's say that we want pesos, right? Cuban peso, Argentinian peso, and you get this thing, starts to already, because of the slope. I calculated the slope. This is not the adaptive one, but you see, it will mess around. We will need to find a way of working with different currencies like that. But even there, it didn't really recently, just went crazy. I wonder if we could use the adaptive one. Let me try. I think we can use the adaptive one. Let me turn off this one. Let's turn on this one. See what it does. Oh. Yeah. See, actually, in fact, let me. Yeah, the fixed one doesn't like it because it's based on dollar, right? But the adaptive one, because this one, remember, the white one is the fixed one, right? But the adaptive one, it adapted. And it looks like a power law up to a point where the price, like this was actually this year, right? So it can handle, you see how it kind of tried to follow the power law, in particular in the past. But as the inflation becomes crazier and crazier, it's like, wind. And if there is like a hurricane, the hurricane, things start, cows start to fly. This is what we say all the time. But during hurricane winds, it's not that gravity doesn't exist, it still exists, but cows and cars and things like that start to fly. And this is what you're seeing here, that it becomes crazy, right? It goes crazy and it leaves the power law. Of course, it leaves the power law. But, I don't understand why people would want the same thing happen to the dollar, because when, at that point, buy Argentinian pesos, it's not going to happen because of the dollar. It's a global currency, it's a standard, it's not going to happen. People don't understand basic ideas and basic critical thinking. But even if it was true, then you will have, Bitcoin broke the power law. And now you are a millionaire in a completely shit currency, and it's sure your Bitcoin is valued a lot, but at that point, what is the difference? Go and buy trade your Bitcoin in Argentinian pesos. See what that gives you. I don't understand people. It's like really silly. We want a stable currency. We want a stable currency because we are not under the 100% Bitcoin. And by the way, you can always choose not the log, right? So if you want to see it, how it looks like in a linear chart, it doesn't do log, but it does linear chart. Right? So in a linear chart, it will look like this, right? Why spreading? Because the price is becoming bigger, and so also the deviations are becoming bigger, right? But it's really cool. You see how it follows. Let me see. You see how it follows the general trend of the power law, right? The price. But now it's this kind of hockey stick that goes up, right? Very, very fast, the power of 6. It's see what this is why we use the log, because you will have to zoom in these areas to see actually anything, because otherwise it looks flat, right? Yeah. But anyway, so you can play around with it, etc. But you see how goes up, right? Very, very fast with the power of 6. Yeah, you see how I scroll. Now it's easy to see these other areas, you see. And this is what the power law did over time. Went up and up faster and faster. But it's easy to see with the log, right? So you can choose log here. Logarithmic. Should have changed. Did they change it? Sometimes you have to. Oh, I changed the wrong logarithmic. Here, this one. Logarithmic. Yeah. Yeah. So it's really cool. You can play around, learn a bunch of things about the power law and so on. Yeah, you can play with different currencies, see what happens, right? I just showed you. It actually show how will be valued with different currencies. Eventually, the power law, the adaptive one will adapt. The fixed one, because all the calculations are based on USD, will not. But we could try to do something adaptive there too, where it responds to the different currencies. Because you need to recalculate, right? Because now the y-axis is different. So, of course, it needs to recalculate the same calculations that it did. This is why the adaptive can do it, but the other ones are all, when I calculate 5.82, it's based on the dollars, not based on the pesos or anything like that. You can do the same calculations. You can try to find a power law there, but it will have a different exponent. So anyway, do you have any other questions or any other things that you want to comment? Because I think I went mostly answer everybody's questions, I think. Okay. All right. If you don't have any other questions or any other comments, we can end here. And hopefully this has been useful. And if you want to come and be part of our family, I really welcome you. And hopefully it's going to be a useful and profitable experience. So thank you so much to be here and be part of this video. I will see you soon. Bye.